There we go. All right, welcome everyone. This is Cloudy County Extension, our virtual slash cloudy fictitious county where we cover Microsoft 365 and related tech as it relates to extension. In this particular month, I am very excited for our topic because I feel like it is going to address a lot of issues that not just the whole world experiences, but really I feel like relates to extension specifically. So before we get started on that, my name is Dwayne. I'm a cloud solution architect with Microsoft, and this is my BFF Joe, who is a Microsoft MVP. And so together, we love to support you in your extension journey and land grant system. And hopefully this is going to be valuable information. This is a preview. So it's kind of funny, Joe, is we talked about I think last month was what, new outlook, and now we're talking about new teams. So we're two for two in a row on talking about new stuff.
It's
um,
definitely a hot product. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah, this is
excited to
kind of a
talk
big
about
deal.
this. Yep.
Yeah, this is kind of a big deal. I'm obviously biased because I work on teams specifically, so I will say this is a bigger deal than new outlook. You know, don't tell the outlook team I said that, but um, this is this is uh this is a big deal. All right, so we're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna go through any what's new, Joe. I mean, well, the entire episode is what's new because it's going to be talking about it's going to be talking about new teams, which is exclusively new.
Yeah.
Um, Teams came out, what do you, Joe, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, somewhere in there.
For us, access to it in the EDU space.
Yeah, and it is it it, it it's gone through some changes. It's gone through some changes. It's gotten a little better, uh, but there have been whispers and rumors of we're going to rebuild it from the ground up for years. Joe and I met with people in 2019 talking about the new version of Teams. And the reason why I want to go back that far is because I want everyone to know that this was a massive project. This was not a kind of like, oh, last month we decided we were just going to make something, we're going to whip up something new and fresh and put a new, coat of paint on it. This is a completely rebuilt from the ground up version of Teams. So this is probably absolutely the biggest thing that has happened to Teams since Teams came out. The current version of the desktop app for Teams has not been known for blazing speed and performance. It has also been known to use quite a bit of memory on your computer. And those were known issues, and those were foundational issues of the base of the code that Teams was built on. The platform that it was built to run in was not super optimized. So that was a major part of the focus for the new version of Teams. So that's our number one thing about this is going to impact you in a positive way is this is going to use less memory on your computers. And agents are typically very mobile. I'm sure most of you have a laptop. Some of you probably work even exclusively from a laptop. I know a lot of our agents at Florida, that was the model that a lot of our agents in a lot of counties had adopted was we work from a laptop, and in the office we have a docking station, and then we pick up our laptop and we run out into the field and do our work. And so this is going to be a big boost for our mobile users, our mobile workforce. I'm going to share my
What are they saying, Dwayne, about half the memory usage and twice the speed in a number of processes?
Yeah. There's a independent company did a benchmark. So let me pull that up. Hopefully this is coming across fine. This is the big part right here. So we're going to zoom in on that and talk about the big stuff. So at the bottom, it says overall 50% reduction in disk and memory resource consumption. I know we have some technical people on the call. And some of you can probably attest to the fact that you go up to someone's computer and take a look at it, and Teams is using like 4 gigs of RAM, which is a lot. On some computers, that could even be half of all it has. It's not uncommon to have a laptop with 8 gigs of memory, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for one application to consume 50% of that for the entire system. So this is the biggest thing here. I will drop a link to this. Actually, I'll type a link out right now to our landing page, which is really easy to remember. It's just aka.ms/new teams. And this is going to take you to a page that's going to give you lots of information, lots of training, lots of administrative, technical documentation. This is the one-stop shop for everything that is related to new teams. You'll actually see that report linked there. So this is the page that I was talking about. And I'm pretty excited about this because this part right here happened after we scheduled this meeting. So general availability of the new Teams client means that Microsoft has said it's basically ready for prime time. It has been in preview for a long time, required a little bit of extra work for administrators to enable it and turn it on. But we're getting closer and closer to a point in time where this is going to be turned on by default. And I'll cover a little bit of that. The education sector is a little bit different. So we're going to talk specifically around what it means for the education sector. But general availability is pretty important, pretty awesome, big milestone for new teams, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I've
But
been running the new teams for several months and have not looked back.
yeah, I have also been running new teams pretty much exclusively for the last 2 or 3 months. There have been a couple of things here and there that haven't come across yet, but for the most part, I unofficial Dwayne measurement, like 98% of everything I need is already there. And the 2% are things that I hardly ever mess with anyway. So it has not been a big deal to me at all to be using new teams. And just to kind of give you a little tour of what new teams looks like, I wanted to pull this up first and show you I'm running new teams. And granted, I'm not really doing anything. It's just sitting here. But still, that's using significantly less memory than classic teams was using. So just wanted to prove that out a little bit. Maybe y'all can check your system and see if what you got running. If you right click on your taskbar and go to Task Manager, whoops, you should see memory consumption there, and you'll kind of see what you're consuming. Once your admins enable new teams, you're going to see this toggle up here at the top left corner of your screen. And this is how you would switch your client, your app on your computer over to the new Teams client. And I'll show you a couple of things to take into, excuse me, take into consideration when you do this. I have seen some situations that confuse folks or things that happen. But I want to demonstrate the process of switching back and forth. It's pretty painless. You switch a toggle, it reloads Teams, and you'll be back in classic mode. Uh, the Oh, yep, already done. There we go. So the availability or visibility of that toggle is really going to depend on what your IT admins have done. So part of our goal for this meeting is to show you what new Teams does, and then empower you with the information of what you need to ask for if you want your admins to give you access to it. So maybe that's a ticket that you put in. Maybe that's some sort of work order, a group that you email, something like that. Maybe you just ask Jackie and she does that for you and makes it happen magically. Who knows? Whatever your process is, we are going to give you the information and what you could do to ask for it. I see Kevin is saying, when will we bypass the defaults or whatever it is that org admins are doing? That's a great question. Joe dropped a link in the chat. We have a blog specifically about try new teams for education. The timeline for education is different than the timeline for the rest of the commercial world, right? The commercial world is not working with semesters and summer breaks and students and stuff like that. So they can turn on new teams, at the drop of a hat whenever they feel ready as an institution or organization. Education's a little bit different because not only do we have higher ed, right, which still has that ebb and flow of semesters and summers, but think about it from a K-12 perspective too. Turning on new teams in the middle of a semester for a bunch of kids is 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 going to be painful. So we're going to do things in such a way that it either aligns with a break or it aligns with summer. So the timeline for EDU is different. So if you wanted to try new teams very soon, that's why you're going to need to ask your admins to enable it for you. So if we scroll down a little bit, there's the Joe just pasted this in the chat. But you're going to see the important timeline. So early January 2024, so winter break time frame, we are going to set new teams as the default client, assuming that the admins of the organization have not explicitly disabled it. If the admins of the orgs have explicitly disabled it, then we will not override that setting. So I will show the admin side of things, which is not normally something we get into with this audience, but we've got some IT folks on the call, and maybe some of you are just curious and want to know what it means. So I will show you. And then in June of next year, so this would align with like summer, we are going to completely turn off classic teams and everything will be new teams. This is also important because new stuff that comes out, like new features, new widgets, shiny new things, they're going to come to new teams. They're not going to continue to invest a lot of engineering hours and power inside of adding new features to an old version of Teams that we're going to move away from anyway. So that's another thing that maybe will be motivational for companies to move. But let me show real quick the admin side of this, which apparently I closed out because I am just not really firing all cylinders today. So my home internet is out right now. I am running my computer over my phone as a hotspot, and hopefully everything continues to work well enough. This is not my normal demo computer either. So Joe and I are actually going to trade off towards the end of this this session. So your team's administrators, your IT administrators, will have the ability to set what is called a update policy. This is done in the Teams admin portal. So I'm going to show you how I do it in mine just as a demo, but this is kind of a mock-up of what could be done for anywhere. Basically, what you would need to ask for is if your organization has created a policy, and in that policy, they have decided to set the option for if you can use the new Teams client to either one of these two options. So if it's either set to classic as default or new as default, either one of those options will give you the toggle. The difference between them is one of them will slide that toggle on for you. So if new teams is default is the what is one that they select, it will turn on new teams for you. You could always turn it off and go back if you wanted to until June of 2024. But either one of these would get you what you want. Now, this policy, this update policy can be assigned to a group. There's lots of really flexible ways that universities could manage this. They could make it so that we've got a big group and, Kevin is an IT support tech at his research center, and he has the ability to just drop users into that group, and whoever gets dropped into that group gets this policy. So that's a way of kind of like delegating that decision all the way down to Kevin, who's working at a local level with the faculty and staff that may say, "Hey, Kevin, where's this new Teams thing at?" He could say, "Oh, let me throw you in the group and you'll see it in about an hour." So that's something that could be done. But basically, what you need is Teams update policy assigned to a group, and new Teams is enabled in that policy. And that's all. So that's what you ask for, right? um, okay. Now, let's get into the why. Obviously, the performance is a big deal. If you wanted to read this report, again, it's available on that landing page of new teams. If you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see right here, independent benchmarking report. This is a compelling reason to use the new teams client. But I'm going to close that out because you probably don't want to hear any more nerd speak. You want to hear real speak. So let's talk about what happens when you toggle on new teams. So first things first, if I close this out, actually, let me not close it out. I want to show you a gotcha. I'm going to show you something that could trip you up. So I'm going to flip on new teams. And I think this is good to see because if you saw something was missing and you're like, wait a minute, I need that. That just switched from old teams to new teams in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. It really doesn't take very long to move back and forth between the two versions. So I feel like that's hopefully should be some like kind of reassuring is if you do realize that there's something there that you thought you should see that you don't, switching back to classic teams doesn't take very long. It will hang up any active call that you're on though. So keep that in mind. You cannot do it while you're in the middle of a meeting. They are two completely different programs. So flipping that switch is going to end one program and start another one. And there's no program out there that can handle that and keep a call running at the same time. That would be some sort of wizardry. Okay, so here's the gotcha that I want to show you. I'm in new teams. I've made the decision to flip over to it. I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go down to my taskbar and I'm going to launch Teams again. Now watch what happens. It says, hey, you've been using new teams. Why would you want to switch back? And remember what I just said a second ago. They're two completely different programs. And programs all have shortcuts. So this shortcut that's on my taskbar is going to classic teams. And I pinned that shortcut to my taskbar. And this is important, especially for my IT friends on the call. This can trip up your people. If you go to the start menu and you search for Teams, you're going to see there's actually two entries, right? There's that one, and then there's that one. So there's two completely different programs. And if your users try to launch the shortcut that goes to classic teams because they had pinned it to their start menu or they had pinned it to their taskbar, that's going to confuse them. You're going to want the one with the little blue, go back into it. You can see right there, it says new right underneath it. So I'm gonna pin that one to my taskbar. And now I've got both versions down there. And Joe dropped a good screenshot that you could share, use, take your own screenshots, whatever. But yeah, Derek pointed out like they look the same. They're very, very, very close. You are looking for it to say new in little tiny blue unreadable font. So this is the first snag, really the only snag that I've run into that I feel like is important and will confuse people. So just keep that in mind, especially if you've done anything with your imaging of your systems or group policy or anything like that that is automatically placing shortcuts on taskbars or start menus, desktops, any of those things. You are pinning the classic Teams shortcut that people are probably used to using, and this will confuse them. Not a big deal, though. We can work around it. All right, so this is new teams. Looks pretty similar. Not a whole lot different as far as the interface goes. Joe, have you noticed anything that you feel like is like wildly different in new teams? That anything that caught you off guard?
Uh, well, once you get into a channel and our channel conversations have the
Hmm.
potential now to be completely different.
Good point. Yeah.
Settings have moved around a bit,
Okay.
where you find, different options have changed, and you'll find some, little different information under your profile icon there. So those are the
Okay.
places I would start looking.
Well, I'm gonna demo the settings that Joe called out, as well as the new channels experience. And then I think we'll switch over to Joe's system so that we can talk about what really matters, and that is how to juggle multiple accounts. um, that might be why you're all here, so I will not stall for too much longer. All right, so settings. We're gonna click, we call these the meatballs, the meatball menu, and you drop into settings. Also, I wanted to point this out real quick because I could have said this earlier, but I didn't. So the toggle, if you notice, has been moved in my case. This is impacted by the settings that your admins choose. If your admins choose in that update policy that we talked about, which I don't know if I still have it up, if your admins choose new teams as default, then the toggle that your users will use to move back and forth will actually be here underneath the settings menu. We call this phase 2 of rolling out new teams. If you have it set to classic teams as default, which would be this option here, then the toggle will still be up here at the top left corner of the screen. So if the toggle's missing, don't freak out. We didn't like take away classic teams. You can still get to it. You're just going to do it underneath the little meatball menu here. When you go into settings, it's not too bad. The old settings experience was kind of like a little window that popped out. It didn't take up the whole screen. The back of it was kind of transparent, so you could kind of see through it and still see your team's window, but you couldn't actually use it. So it was kind of like negative space. So this I like a little bit better. It's a full on window. You get to use all of it, except for all this over here. um, but things have moved around just a little bit. You're going to find things under, like if you wanted to switch from grid view to list view in Teams. So you'll see, if I go back to my teams, I'm seeing all my teams in boxes right now. That's grid view. If I wanted to switch over to list view, it's now underneath the appearance submenu. So now I can switch to list view from there. And now when I go back into it, I see all my teams now on the left in list view. So really, really subtle things like that. Joe, is there anything that you saw that you were like, whoa, that's very different? Or is it just really like kind of like my cheese was moved, but not very far?
I think it's just kind of been moved around is where I've seen the ability to turn on and off different organizations that you're a part of, or different for each account. Maybe there's some that you have been added to from some other organization um, that you don't visit very often. You can kind of not show that. That might be some stuff we can show when we switch over.
Yeah, we'll show on Joe's system what that's like. Okay. So here's the next biggest like shock. I think we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about this or not. There's a new experience in Teams channels. This is the second biggest thing to change in Teams, in Dwayne's opinion. Um, Channels are going to look a little bit different, and by default, they're going to look like this. New teams. Oh man, did I break it? Yeah, I broke it. There we go. Okay. So new teams includes what we call the new channels experience. This is a pretty big change because if you look right here, this is where you would start a new post versus it being at the bottom. In addition to that, you would have your post going, originally from the bottom to the top, like your oldest stuff was scrolling up off the top of your page. Well, we turn that around on you, right? We're going to go from the bottom or top down. This does follow other social media experiences. I'm going to use LinkedIn as an example. When you go to LinkedIn and you want to write a new post at LinkedIn, the write a new post box is at the top. It's just a text box that you can start typing in. You can choose what kind of post it's going to be. Is it going to be an image? Is it going to be a poll? What kind of post are you going to make? And then you scroll down your feed to see stuff. So older stuff will be at the bottom. This is a pretty big shift because Teams has never looked like this ever. And so if you don't like this, it's okay because by popular demand, they added an option that you can reverse this. So you can put it back. Before I get into that, I want to show this experience a little bit more. When you start a new post, you can either choose right off the bat, is this going to be just a post or is this going to be an announcement? And remember, announcements don't really do anything other than change the formatting. It adds a headline so that it pops off the page more than normal. It doesn't actually change anything around notifications or anything like that. It just makes it more engaging. So you can start an announcement right there, or you can just start a normal post. My favorite thing about this
This is
is
great.
it opens up in format mode right away. It was so common in classic Teams or the old channels experience for someone to start a new post, start typing, but hit their enter key thinking that they were going to bump down to the next line and it sends it. And then they got to go back and they edit their post, or they delete it, or they freak out, or whatever. So this is so much better because you can type, you can hit enter, you can go down, you can highlight this stuff, you can turn it into a bulleted list if you want, you can insert a table, you can do all kinds of like word processing right out of the gate. You don't have to make any decisions around what you're going to do there. So I
And
think
give it a
huge,
subject
huge change.
and give it a subject too, which is
Yep.
helpful,
Yep.
especially in channel conversations.
Yeah, channel conversations are not like instant messaging chat, right? Instant messaging chat is just going to be one giant, flow of communications going back and forth. Channel messages are threaded. Again, like social media posts. You're going to make a post, that post is going to have a subject. People are going to push the reply button and reply to that post. So this is part of that. So we'll just say demo subject. And I'm going to hit post. So there's my post. One of the new things that you can do in new teams and part of new channels is posts can be treated like their own little like compartment. And you can pop it out into a new window. So you can pop this channel conversation into its own window. And now it kind of feels more like a chat, but it's occurring inside of a Teams channel, which I feel like is also very useful, especially if you're multitasking, you want to switch and do other things in Teams, but you want to keep your eye on that one conversation that's pretty active. You can just pop it out into a new window. So popping things into new windows is a pretty big focus of new Teams. Now, how do I put my channels back? You're like, I don't like this. I hate this. I don't like change. If you hit the three dots, the meatball menu at the very top of channels, you're going to see an option that just still says see new posts at the bottom. You're back to the regular start a post button. However, you still have the same benefit of it opening in format mode. You have to make your decision on, is this going to be a post owner announcement after you push the button. So you would do that down here at the bottom right where it says post type. You would still select and toggle back and forth between the two. Uh, I like this a lot because people who are Teams veterans, I've been using Teams for 4 years and I have never seen it look like this and I don't like it. You can set it back to what you're used to. People who are new to Teams and are maybe social media, digital natives kind of folks, they're used to that way that looks. Well, the new experience in Teams might look more natural to them. So giving users the choice and making sure that they know that they have a choice, I feel like is awesome. Very important. Okay. Let's get into the good stuff, Joe, because we got about 30 minutes to talk about some new acronyms that people are probably going to like. So I'm going to quit my share, and we're gonna have a fireside chat, like Joe's background, around what it's like to be a guest in teams and how what a wonderful experience that can be. Um, right now, if you've been added to another team, like you have all been added to the Cloudy County team as guests. That's part of our process for bringing in new members, making sure you get our invites, making sure you get our announcements, is we add you to a team as a guest. If you wanted to, you could go to the top right corner of the Teams window and you could switch over into our tenant, into our system as a guest. It takes a minute. The process is clunky. You lose visibility to everything that's going on in your home tenant. And this experience might be familiar to you if you have two accounts. If you have an account from your county and you have an account from your university, and maybe they've invited your county account as a guest to a team that's hosted by the university or vice versa. I know our agents in Florida, depending on the county, it is, we used to joke around and say that we got to negotiate with 67 different governments. So I get that. But some of them ran their own team system in parallel to the state running its own team system. And so they were constantly kind of juggling back and forth. And so now the process of switching between two different organizations and teams is basically instantaneous. Joe, do you have a you can switch it in Netsy, right?
Sure. So yeah, I have an account that I'm a member over in Netsy. I can just click on Netsy and I'm over in Netsy
It
now,
was done.
and
That was
they're
it.
in there.
like, like he clicked it and there was no like hang on while we switch you. It instantaneously switched. That's awesome. So very, 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 very fast. Now, Joe, do me a favor. You're too fast, Joe. You're too fast. So switch back over to Netsy and go to the teams and take a peek at the discussion board. There's a really important post there, right?
Who's
So
that from?
remember we were talking about you can pop post out. So pop that out into its own window. So three dots next
You want
to
me
the
to
post. Yep.
the post? Okay.
Yep. Say open post a new, open conversation, a new window. So this is a really important post, right? Self-plugging our community here. And you want to pay attention to this conversation that's happening over in the Netsy tenant, not your home tenant. But you need to still be aware of what's going on in your home tenant. So now tell teams to switch back to your home tenant.
I
That
can
post window stays there. And
continue
now,
the conversation over there, no problem.
yeah. So now if you look at the title bar of teams, kind of drag that over so it's underneath your me menu in the in Teams. Can you all see the window in the back says the shift show, which is the name of our tenant, and the window that he's running says National Extension Technology Community. So Teams right now is running in two different organizations. We call it a tenant. It's a tenant like a subscription. It's running in two different subscriptions simultaneously. And both of those are going to be just fine. Like it's going to be live, right? There's no syncing or anything like that. So that's the first thing that's really cool. The second thing that's really cool is if somebody sends Joe a chat message, that chat message notification is going to come through. So if I sent him, I don't know if I can even pull this off. Let me try this, Joe. And I wish I could show you what I'm doing on my computer right now. This is so cool. I am, I am, this is just so powerful. I'm going to search for Joe. Um, let's see here. Joe, you're running, which account are you running? Your Joe at UF or your
Jasper,
Joe at Shift Show?
shift show.
Interesting. I can't find you there, but it's okay. We'll figure out a way to demo it at some point. I could send Joe a chat message over in the Netsy tenant, and the notification of that chat message would flow all the way over into Teams, pop up down by his clock, and he would be able to respond to it, all without ever having to switch over to the Netsy tenant. He would never have to go through that old school process of going up to the top, switching over, checking your chat messages, or maybe you're getting the emails. You're getting the emails that you get every hour that say, "Hey, your colleague's trying to connect with you. They sent you a chat message. You should click here and take a look at it." Like none of that stuff will happen. You'll get what we call cross-tenant notifications. Cross-tenant notifications. Those are going to happen live, no matter which tenant you are currently logged into.
Yeah, in the upper toolbar for your main Teams app, till you'll get some activity information about your other orgs that are going on. You can see I've got 7 listed here. I can click in there and see where I have some other conversations happening in the other organizations that I'm a member of, or my other accounts. Is something we can talk about too. Because right now, what we're seeing here is one single account in different organizations. I'm able to pop out a chat message. This is in the organization in which my account lives in. Here's an example of popping out a conversation happening in a channel in a different organization.
Joe, you have quiet mode turned on your operating system, bottom right.
Yeah, want me to that off?
No, you got to click that little Z bell thing up at the top right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Want to try to
Okay.
hit me now? There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to figure out which account you're using. Demos like this are confusing. So, um, but we'll work on a better demo next time when my internet is not completely jacked up. So there was a great question in the so two great questions.
Yeah.
Number one, Jackie said, "Hey, if I'm in an active call and I switch, will I drop from the call?" And the answer is no. You can switch organizations. I just did it on this call. I even did even more than that. I switched. So I'm running this call using my Cloudy County account. So now, and we haven't gotten to this part yet, but Teams not only can handle switching between different organizations really quickly, there's a new acronym called MTMA, which means multi-tenant, multi-account. You can now be signed into the Teams app with more than one account at the same time. So my work computer that I'm on right now, I am signed into it with my Microsoft work account, and I'm also signed into it with my Dwayne Cloudy County account. And I just switched. I'm running this meeting right now using my Cloudy County account. I switched over to my Microsoft account. My Microsoft account is a guest member of Netsy. I switched over to Netsy. I can do all of that stuff, and this call will never disconnect while I'm doing that. Very, very cool. Also, very aware and intelligent. If you are running the new version of Teams and you are a guest member in another organization and they invite you to a meeting, when you join that meeting, Teams will recognize and say, "Oh, yeah, you're a guest over there. We're just going to auto switch you." And so you auto switch. And the benefit of that is now better access to chat. You see profile pictures of the people who are on the call. It works so much better. And there's no reason or you don't have to remember. It just happens automatically. So for those of you that are guests of the Cloudy County organization, if you're not, you should totally sign up. But those of you who are guests, once you start running new teams, the next time you join one of our meetings, it'll auto switch you and you'll see our profile pictures and stuff like that.
We can see I did have do not disturb turned on, but I'm seeing now notification that I have a chat message waiting for me over in the Netsy community.
Yeah, this is a, yep. So that was me sending you chat messages from my Microsoft account. So if you hover over my profile picture, you'll see that's the process that I said I just did. I switched my Teams app over to Microsoft and then took a look at the Netsy tenant and sent you a message over there for fun because I can. So, and like Jackie said, yes, it makes your head hurt. It's kind of like Inception again. It's just there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of flexibility, and when you have this much flexibility, you can almost have an overwhelming number of options. And so we're going to try to break it down in a way that makes a little bit streamline it, makes sense for the life of an extension agent. And the very first one of those things is if you have been invited as a guest anywhere, if you have been invited as a guest to be a member of a committee that is planning a regional conference hosted by another university, this is going to make your life better. This is going to make that process better. Because if they post a message and they mention your name, you're going to get a notification. And that notification center that Joe's got up there with the number 7 on it, that is a new notification center that is specifically tied to activity that's happening related to you in all the other organizations that you've been invited to as a member. It's really going to, even if you miss the chat pop up, it's going to pop up into that notification center in a few minutes after that. So it's going to make it a lot more visibility for you. Um, let's see here. Joe, can you
Want to take it to the next step and another account?
Well, real quick, can you do just, I don't know, start up a meeting, go to your calendar and just do like a meet now meeting or something, maybe? I don't know what will happen to, yeah, this should be fine. So I just want to show Jackie I'm not lying. I'm not making stuff up. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you're in a meeting and now back on your Teams app, switch it over to, I don't know, somewhere else. Yep. So you're over there in Netsy. You could pop out that chat that you and I have right there over on the right. So little arrows. So you pop that out. Now switch your Teams app back over to home. And I can send you more chats. So I'm going to do more chats. So you can still continue to chat with me. You're on a call. The call never dropped. Like this is just so powerful. I'm sorry, Jackie. I know you believe me. I geek out over this because these have been pain points. These have been pain points for several years for anybody who was working in multiple organizations at the same time. It made things difficult. Okay, you can hang all that up. I just wanted to go through that because that was fun.
Well, let's keep it running. Let's see what happens.
Oh yeah, sure. Keep the meeting running. We'll just see what happens. So the next evolution of this is okay. So we've got a situation where you are a county agent. You are running inside your county government with your county account, and your county account was added to the state university team as a guest, right? So you're doing that switching back and forth, back and forth. Well, the next scenario is what if your county gave you an account and your university gave you an account? So now you have two different accounts that you have to run at the same time. So we can do this now. So now, and from this me menu, there's add another account right there at the bottom, and you can sign into two accounts simultaneously. Joe is apparently going to be logging into four accounts after this because why not? What are you doing with all your AI headshots?
Sure.
So, Joe, you want to sign into my environment?
Want me to add the EduWayne
Yeah,
work?
yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. See what
Okay.
happens. We're going to live or die by the demo, right? So, I made Joe an account over in one of my test environments. And so he's going to add that account to his Teams app. And now he'll be logged into 5 accounts simultaneously. Look at his call in the background. Like it never ended. It's still going.
Chat's
So
still available, calls still going on, and I just added a brand new account. Not a problem.
this is so cool. So he is signed in as Worf, because a little bit of Star Trek, gotta have that sprinkled in there. And let me send you a chat message. So I am logged into that organization. I'll pull out my chat. I'll just say, "Hey, Worf." Whoops, that came across kind of weird. Um, and I don't Yeah, so it showed up in your chat. I don't know what's going on with your notifications, but that has not worked for the demo, unfortunately.
Yeah, not getting a notification down here.
Hmm. Okay. Under normal circumstances, uh, you would get a little pop-up down by your clock. That pop-up would show a preview of the chat message, and that pop-up would offer you the ability to reply to that chat message, all without ever having switched tenants or switched accounts. So doesn't matter. Like Joe's signed in with 5 accounts now. Any one of those accounts that receives a chat message will receive a notification, and he clicks on the notification. He can respond to the chat message without ever even having to consciously switch over to that account. So for those of you in a situation where your county gave you an account and your state gave you an account, now you'll be able to sign in to Teams with both of those at the same time and take advantage of the blended notifications and the ability to switch back and forth really quickly in new Teams.
Yeah, this is switching completely different accounts. It's just like switching between as fast as switching between just a different organization that your account is a member of.
Yeah, I feel like I'm curious if y'all, the agents on the call, let me know in the chat. Are you working with 2 accounts? You have a state and a county account. Do you just have one account? But I know you're all members, likely, of at least as guests of other organizations. So got to be that's got to be pretty common. I see that every day when I work with people. So I'd be curious if you are experiencing that kind of stuff. So. And I don't want to take away from the topic, but I just want to call out that Netsy message in the background there, Joe. You make that bigger. Click on the pretty picture. Yeah. If you haven't tried the Bing Image Creator lately, you should. You should go check it out because it just got a major, major upgrade. And I made that picture with Bing Image Creator. And I told it that I wanted a person in a business office with natural lighting, view from behind, 2 computer systems on the desk, one hand on each keyboard. And that's what it gave me. I mean, it's really powerful now. It can make hands. It can make hands that don't look like they came out of a horror movie. So yeah, if you are making media, you're doing media posts, you're doing, publishing things or ads on Instagram, Facebook, any of that kind of stuff. If you combine Bing Image Creator and Microsoft Designer, both of which are free, you can make some really cool stuff. So I made that image in Bing Image Creator, and then I told it I wanted to customize it, and it loaded it into Microsoft Designer for me, where I was able to add some text and a background and stuff like that. So side note there, but that was a pretty major update that happened in the last month or so, last couple weeks even, right, Joe? Only a
Yeah,
couple weeks old.
I've lost some sleep playing with the new creator. It's fun.
Nice. Very nice. Um, I will share one more technical thing that new teams brings to the table. Uh, it is not uncommon in education for a university to have more than one, what we call tenant, more than one subscription to Microsoft 365. A really easy example would be a university that has a hospital. So typically, your faculty, staff, and students are going to be in one subscription, and your providers and your staff that are running the hospital are going to be in another subscription. There are some very new things that have come out around new teams, and one of them is called MTO. I'll put it in the chat. It stands for multi-tenant organization. And this, at a high level, is basically a solution that you can put in place to say, we are one organization. We are the University of Cloudy State. And we want to take our research university and our hospital, and we want them to work together as if they were one. You can set up MTO, and you can make it to where it will automatically add every single person, or you could scope it to a subset of users if you wanted, like maybe not students. And we want to add everybody that's in either one of these organizations. We want to ship them over to the other and add them as a member of that other organization automatically. So this takes the guest process of adding people as guests, and it completely automates that process. And it keeps everything in sync. So if someone leaves on one side, their guest account gets removed on the other side. The benefits are way better because now those people can be team owners. They can manage things and schedule meetings and that, that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. And it really takes the collaboration between two different organizations to a new level. That is, again, one of the more technical pieces of this, but the experience of being a part of that is completely powered by new teams. If new teams is not turned on, it's not going to work. It's not, as people aren't going to feel the benefit of it. They're not going to feel the notifications as they come across. They're not going to be able to switch instantaneously, those types of things. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, here there was the timeline. Joe had it up real quick, but the timeline is coming. It's going to be turned on pretty soon by default, January-ish. If you don't want to wait, then ask your IT admins to get you into a pilot or a preview. I said pilot, preview or pilot of new teams if they're running that internally, and tell them your use case. Tell them like, hey, I'm an agent and I got accounts all over the place. This will make my life easier. So you can make that case to them for that. You mentioned, so in the chat, you mentioned a couple of minor legacy client capabilities that haven't made it to Teams 2.1. Can you briefly touch on those? Let's see if they're there. Joe, can you go and manage the settings of oh, you're in one right now. Oh, okay. So in the new channels experience, when you post an announcement in a channel, for right now, the ability to use a custom image for the header has been removed. It's coming back, and it will be better than it was before. Just take my word for it. But for right now, when you go to post an announcement in a channel, the only thing you can do is choose from colors. You won't be able to choose a custom image or any of the built-in illustrations. I'm a big proponent of that because I feel like that makes your post visual. We try to use custom images for our announcements internally and make sure that those pop off the page and are fun and engaging. So I'm looking forward to that coming back.
I have a specific reason to use announcements a couple times a month, and I just switch over to the web and do it there instead of switching my entire teams over. I just bring up the web and it's still available.
That's a great workaround. If there's something that's missing, just open your web browser and run Teams there for a minute or two. That's likely faster than having to switch back and forth between classic and new teams. So if you're missing an option that you think you should be seeing, try it in the web browser. Because for right now, the web browser is still considered Teams Classic. Joe, can you actually hit Teams Web? Because this is kind of funny. The title of the tab will actually say Teams Classic in it. At least mine does anyway. The actual browser tab.
Get into, there we go.
Yeah, so it says Teams Classic on the title of the browser tab. That's a little bit of foreshadowing because if you look at our timeline release, the new Teams experience will be coming to the web later in November. That's the current timeline. Those things move. If you're watching this video and you're from the future and it's December and it's not there yet, please don't be mad at me. That's what it says right now. uh, so the other thing that might be missing that I have personally seen this fixed. So I'm curious to see what Joe sees. Can you go manage the settings of one of our teams, like Cloudy County or whatever? Any of them, it doesn't matter. Yeah, manage team. Okay, this is fixed. So the settings menu was missing. It's not missing anymore. So this is where you would change the icon of your team, change the description of your team, but most importantly, this is where you would manipulate member permissions. So if you're a team owner and you wanted to set permissions and say, I don't want my members creating and deleting my channels, like this is where you would check that box. It was missing in new teams for a little while, but now that it's gone GA, looks like we're back to normal. I am seeing the same thing that Joe is seeing, so that is good. The biggest one that's kind of funny, I say funny, but there are very legitimate use cases for this. If you have a Stream Deck or if you have the Microsoft Presenter Plus remote, those are not working right now. So you can't use a Stream Deck to spam reactions and turn your camera and your microphone on and off and those kinds of things. Jeff Teeper, who is high up in the engineering division of Microsoft for Teams, posted on LinkedIn that it's coming back, and it's in development now and should be coming soon. So don't worry, we'll be there. And actually, something just happened to me because I have to run. I forgot to mention this. You're going to get better notifications when meetings start in other organizations that you're a member of. So you'll get meeting start notifications and click join and just pop right in, which is going to make it a lot better for making those meetings on time because I just had one pop up. Which I wish I could have shown you that, but like I said before, I'm connected to my Shift Show or my Cloudy County account right now, and that was a notification from my Microsoft work account that just popped up to let me know that meeting had started. Ooh, that's a lot of information, isn't it? All right, y'all. The takeaway is this is better. So this is better. I can't wait to hear from you if you start using it. Let me know. I want to know if you're using it and what you think of it. And I just feel like this is going to be a great experience. It's going to be a much better experience for an agent. So thanks everyone. I'm going to kill the
Thank
recording, but
you.
I'll hang out for a couple minutes if you've got questions, and we'll try to answer them. But thanks, Joe, for the flying by the seat of your pants demo there.
All right.
Whew.
Yeah, I'm